Welcome to the Cory Lee Show, where our focus is on building leaders and transforming culture. My name is Cory Lee, and in each episode, I aspire to ignite something on the inside of you that encourages you to grow yourself and to make an impact on the world around you. Welcome to the Cory Lee Show. Hey guys, welcome back to the Cory Lee Show. Got a super exciting episode today. I really feel like this conversation is going to be helpful to a wide variety of people, leaders, entrepreneurs, and all, because I feel like one of the things that I bring, Matt, is the kind of the mindset stuff. And you are an expert at strategy and processes and systems and all of that. And I believe this is going to really help out a lot of people. And so, guys, I want to introduce you to Matt Granados. Matt is a peak performance strategist, two-time #1 best-selling author and the founder of LifePulse Company. They focus on fixing people's problems by solving process problems. And in his bio, something I found really interesting, he went from building a $40 million sales team from Craigslist hires to coaching elite performers at Google, Twitter, and the U.S. Air Force. And so he says his message is simple. Sustainable growth starts with ownership, and it requires a system. I love that. And so, hey, Matt, welcome to the Cory Lee Show.
Cory, grateful to be here and grateful for all the work you're doing.
Yeah, well, thank you too, man. And I think it's awesome what you're doing. And Matt, I gave a little bit of your bio and what you're currently doing, but take us on the journey, man. How did you go from where you were to where you are today?
Yeah, so I don't know if we have enough time for that whole thing, but where I was from a business perspective, I was an entrepreneur that kind of fell into entrepreneurship, and I'm glad that I did, because it turns out it's just how I'm created. Like, entrepreneurship has become this kind of cool thing to be, and I've never met someone who's been able to pretend. That makes sense. Like, it's kind of a rough way of living, to be honest with you. There's a lot of ups, a lot of downs, and then when you get married and you realize you brought your wife into it as well, she reminds you, because it wasn't necessarily the way she thought it was going to go. And fortunately, I've just been blessed with an amazing woman who just levels up everything I do at a level that I can have trouble keeping up with her. But where it started was in our conversation between her and I as we got married. She said, Matt, I knew marrying you was going to be difficult. Like, I knew that, but I didn't realize it was going to be this hard. Right. And I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, well, you just have so many ideas. Like, there's a new idea and you're doing something here and like your head's all over the place. And I want to love you. I want to support you. I want to be with you in this. But how do I like know what's going on? And I said, well, it's simple. There's these 9 questions that I ask myself every single day, or every week, I'm sorry. And then every day I kind of approach it based on that. And she said the sexiest thing she's ever said to me outside of I do. And she said, can I use your system? Right? Like, for the guys in the room, there's nothing more exciting than a woman that I love saying, can I use your system? Right? Like, it was awesome. I was like, absolutely, let's make this happen. So I showed it to her. It was on a composition book. If you remember those composition books, I used to go and try to race all the kids still as an adult to buy as many of them for the year, because I would use them just to kind of get my week in order. I gave it to her and she said, this is kind of ugly. She said it in a much more loving way. She made it look nice. We got it printed at FedEx and Kinko's, one of their shops, and then we started using it to get to know each other better and stay in the same page, literally and figuratively. From there, shared it with other people in my company. From there, someone got a hold of one and presented it to one of the largest financial organizations in the world, a Fortune 50 company. And they reached out to me randomly. We're like, hey, we got a copy of your book and it solves our biggest personnel problem. Would you come in and talk with us? So I walked in, talked with them, no charge. I didn't know there was a business in this. And for a couple of days, we sat down and we solved their people problem. And they said, I can't believe this book does this. I said, well, what is it actually does? Because I didn't know, right? To me, it helped my wife understand who I was, my warehouse team, my sales reps, our company did really well with it. They said, we can't connect corporate desired metrics with individuals' desired lifestyles, and your system does exactly that. I said, awesome. I said, does anyone else have this problem? They said, every company is going to have this problem in the next 10 years. That was in 2017.
Wow.
COVID hits, multiply everything.
Wow.
People have become harder to work with, manage, deliver, and experience that word fulfillment. And what we do is we walk people through a systematic approach to ensure fulfillment in all areas of their life.
Wow.
And because of that, work-life balance is no longer an issue because they're experiencing fulfillment. And it turns out when you're actually experiencing fulfillment, the work you do doesn't matter because you're actually walking in your calling the way you should be. So we've been able to do that at scale in a sustainable model that individuals take that ownership and run with it without sitting there going, hey, beating over your head, you have to have ownership mentality, which that never works. You have to show them why owning it actually brings value to them. And that's what we do.
Yeah. Dude, I love that. I think that's so interesting that you have questions. Would you be able to share a couple of them? Because I do
Yeah.
I've got about six that I ask myself. You've just done it at a way higher level. That's awesome. I love that. I'd be curious your questions you ask yourself.
Yeah, I bet you some of them probably copy yours because the one thing I tell people is there's no new foundational truths. It was
Yeah.
all created in the beginning. Like, so it's not like we are developing new truths. We are just leveraging truths. One of the things I tell people is like, think about truths as natural laws, right? One that pops in my head is the natural law of gravity.
Hmm.
Like, can you overcome the law of gravity? And somebody will say, yeah, I've seen an airplane, but they're not overcoming the law of gravity. They're actually using the law of gravity, which allows the law of aerodynamics to even exist, right? So it's a hierarchy in it because which one works, aerodynamics or gravity? Like they need to be balanced of each other. So truths are the same way. So if you think you're going to discover a new truth, please tell me. I've never met a new truth. Does that make sense? So
Oh
like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
all that being said, when I hear people who I respect, like you, Cory, have a duplicate system, I sit there and go, oh, we all get it from the same source if it's coming from truth.
Yeah.
So, number one, I'll go through all 9. And we
Yeah.
actually have these in what we call, if you see over my shoulder here, this is a little LP planner.
Okay.
That's the little book, the planner that we use, and everything we do is a pen and paper planner. Who introduces a pen and paper planner in a digital time? Me. Why? Because they work.
I got mine, brother.
Period. There you go, right? And what happens is when we find some of the planners that were out there were a little too cumbersome, they took too much time to go through. So you start kind of picking and choosing which parts you use. You're not using the fullness of the system. I wanted something that I can get going. And if it takes me more than 30 minutes to plan my entire week, I'm missing out on time. So
Yeah.
I wanted something quick, simple, and could handle it. So the 9 questions work like this. Number 1, what are you focused on this week? One word focus. You can't focus on 2 things. Number 2, what are you grateful for?
Yeah.
Number 3, how'd you do last week? Number 4, what are you working towards this week? And what we call the 4 vital signs of fulfillment: internal, physical, relational, professional. Then you have what we call your brain dump. What did you say you were going to do this week? What were your commitments this week?
Mm.
That left side is your plan. The right side is your execution. And you never do one when you should do the other. The execution starts with how are you prioritizing your week, which we use the Eisenhower matrix to do that, but we do it on a daily basis, not just a list basis. And then what do you have to do this week? And then the only other one that I didn't share was what's a quote that backs what you said in your one word focus. So every week we go through those and ask ourselves those questions. And I found what it does is it allows us to experience the life we want to. We call it reverse planning. Everyone teaches us to plan in one way. Make a list, do the list. Make a list, do the list. Make a list, do the list. What our system does is it has you and enables you to do that reverse planning, which is list out what you want to do this week, list out what you need to do this week, and then the key is you only do what is important. You take those 3 questions right there, whether you use my paper, your paper, or just a document, I don't care. If you can focus on reverse planning, you will live a life closer to fulfillment than if you're just trying to survive.
Man, that's good stuff. I love that. And I want to go back to something you were talking about when you were talking with your wife. And you mentioned your wife said, you've got all these ideas and I don't know how to live with you and, all of this stuff. I would be curious your personal process on, because the reason I'm asking this, one, I'm a visionary, got all ideas all the time, but I also talk with a lot of people who we've got this idea and this idea. What is your process of narrowing down which one do I go with?
Yeah.
And how do you know your process on how you narrow down which one to focus on?
So we call it the LP structure of success, right? And here's what happens. People are like, man, you have something for everything. And that's not because it's just how I process things.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So it's
Yeah.
not like I'm sitting here thinking of these all the time. It's I'll sit there, I'll pray, I'll wonder how do I handle it? And then I need a structure. Otherwise I'm a train wreck. Sometimes people are like, man, if I was as organized as you, I'd have a planner. I'm like, you don't get it. It's because I'm a train wreck. I need to save myself from myself. And that's what all of our systems do. So the LP structure of success, it is we'll just start with the year first, right? So it's annual retreat. That breaks down to quarterly resets, and that's the one we're going to talk about. Monthly reviews, weekly planning, daily action.
Mm.
We do that in all areas of our life: internal, physical, relational, professional. So my wife and I do an annual retreat. Every quarter, we reset what we're focused on. Every month, we go what we call a life date, which is a special date we go on just to make sure things are good, celebrate life, bring each other gifts, all that good stuff. Then on a weekly basis, we talk about our plan. And on a daily basis, I need to take action, which means I need to make sure my wife knows I love her every single day.
Yeah.
That's not an assumed in our relationship, right? That's how we break that down. You can do the same things physically, same things relationally, same things professionally, same things in all areas. The quarterly reset, 90 days at a time. We have focuses that we're going to focus on for 90 days. We do this, we call our 90-day goal rush. It's our high-level executive coaching that we do. We bring people in, 4 months, money-back guarantee. If you follow the system, you're going to get the results we talked about. We build it out in a clear and very simple way, but the 90-day reset is so key. So with all my ideas, this quarter, the one word focus for the quarter, right? Because we take the same weekly concept and we bring it all the way up, is nurture.
Mm.
I'm not allowed to create anything new this quarter.
Wow.
I have an entire document of the things I want to do. That's where they can sit. And I'm counting down to October 1st because I'm sick of what I said I was going to do. I want to go on what I want to do, but in reality, I need to finish those nurturing campaigns for clients. I need to finish the process and the procedures as we're growing and we're bringing on new coaches and we're certifying new coaches. I need to make sure I'm able to get that finished because as much as I want to write that next book and put out that next process, I need to serve and steward what I've been given already. And I think that word stewardship is what I use to focus on that. Is what does that word actually mean? And I think a lot of times we think it means holding on to what you got, but it's not. It's actually being fruitful and multiply with what's been given to you.
Yeah.
Like that's really what stewardship is. So right now in my time of stewardship for this quarter, it's not grow and create. It's toil, turn up, get the soil ready because we're going to be doing it again next season.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So it's like it's
Yeah.
making that intentional decision. And that's why having those weekly plans, because I could say, okay, am I doing this? Does this align with our monthly review and our quarterly reset and our annual retreat? No, it doesn't. So why am I doing it? Well, because it'd be cool. There's a lot of things that would be cool that we aren't called to follow. So we're going to put it on this list to do next quarter. And then when we do our quarterly reset, we can look at that list. And guess what? You're not going to believe it. 80% of the things I have on my quarterly to-dos, I have no interest in doing when we go to do the reset.
Yeah. Man, I like that. I think that helps a lot of people, especially people that I call get SOS, which I'm one of those shiny object syndromes. Like, ooh, that'd be good. That'd be good, squirrel, right? And I love it. What I really like about that, though, is the intentionality that you're taking of like, man, I am. You called it your gold rush. I'm just so focused on this. I'm going to keep track of all these ideas that come down. I'm going to put them on a piece of paper, but right now that's just on another piece of paper that I'll look at in a few months or whenever that time comes. I really like that. Man, that's really good.
And here's where that comes from, right? And we use this concept that we call PTT, Plan Tomorrow Today. And it comes from the same thought of the Zeigarnik effect. So it was a study done in the 40s that basically the human brain remembers things left unattended or left incomplete. So the concept was if you're studying, filling in the blank is a better way to study than just trying to capture information, right? So like instead of asking a question like, what year did the Civil War happen? The better way to study is the Civil War happened in blank, blank, blank on this day. Does that make sense? So your brain just naturally wants to connect those gaps. So it remembers it better. Well, the same thing happens because it doesn't want to forget. So if you have something you need to do later, your brain is on survival mode and it wants it to be completed. So until you put it somewhere where you would call safe, like putting an idea on a shelf, knowing where it is, your brain is never going to stop thinking about it. Mm. So you're always going to be distracted. So that's why we plan the day before, because you can then sleep at night not being concerned if you were going to have a problem later on. Yeah. So same concept here. Have an idea tab, have a note thing, have Trello, whatever you use. My team, we have a Trello where it's just like Matt's ideas. Like it's just on there. And every quarter we clean it up. And I'm telling you, it's no, no, no. That's the crazy. What was I even? I don't even know what this one meant, right? Like, and it gives you that ability, but you have to be willing to commit to a movement. We call it intentional patience, right? It's another term that we use. How long are you willing to let something sit to see if it works?
Mm.
Like we talk about it. One of our other coaches is an Air Force pilot, and he's like, man, there's times you got to change the way you're moving in a plane, and you have to let the change sit to see if you made the right decision.
Mm.
He said, and it's scary because
Yeah.
you can crash. But a lot of us, especially visionaries, boom, 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 boom. We're moving so fast. We never let anything sit. And then we sit back and go, I'm so tired. Why didn't anything work? Well, you never let anything actually bake.
Wow.
You spent all the time doing it. That's the hard part. But then what do? You sit it in the oven and like, yeah, it could have been a cake. But you took it out in 2 minutes. So like you did all the work and then you're supposed to sit back and enjoy the fruit, which is let the oven do the work, let the system work. And then guess what? At the end, you can enjoy the cake. If you pull it out 2 minutes after you put it in and wonder why the cake doesn't taste good and you got salmonella because of the eggs, that's the foolishness that we fall trapped to.
Yeah. Matt, I got a question for you. All right. All right. So say somebody's out there listening, like, man, Matt, you taking all my freedom away, Matt. Like I do
Yeah.
better just impulse decision making. You got
Yeah.
any thoughts to somebody who thinks like that?
Oh, yeah, you're wrong. Right. And let me explain that. That's the harsh way. Again, I'm from the Northeast originally, right? So I
Yeah.
got to let some of that come out. What I tell them is the way humans are created, let's break it down to the universe. The universe is created in order, it's not created in chaos. We function better in order, not chaos. Just because it works doesn't mean it's wise.
Mm.
That's the thing I'll tell that person first. The second thing I'll walk you through is I'll say, structure brings freedom and rhythm brings peace in any area of your life. Structure is not a restraint, it's a guide.
Yeah.
Problem is you've experienced stupid structure, unnecessary structure. You might have grown up in an area, let's take church, for example, where people were more focused on religion than relationships. So you've gone so far away from having a relationship because of the religion, going, wait a minute. No, the thing we focus on, like we have one of the pillars we teach in secular and in faith-based organizations is properly focused faith. And the fact that faith is what created religion. Religion is not what created faith.
Yeah.
So the religion is the structure, and the structure is good. There should be structure, but that structure is not the main focus.
Yeah.
It's in order to experience what's coming next. Life's the same way. I like to just fly by the seat of my pants. I'll say, hey, how's that working for you? There's a reason we're having a conversation right now,
Yeah.
right? Like there's a reason you're listening to this podcast is because that thing you're saying is working so well. I don't think is working as well as you think it is. And again, that line of just because it works doesn't mean it's wise. Why is structure good? Because we function better in it. You cannot argue that. Yeah, but I don't like it. I feel constrained. Well, then we have to find a structure that you don't feel constrained in. But can I tell you why I know you like structure and order? Because your butt's able to take a breath and you're not flying off this planet. That's oxygen and gravity. You like order. We like structure. We've been built that way.
Yeah, man, that's good. And I for the longest time, that's the way I operated was I like the freedom. I like to do the impulse. I've got the ideas, but to attest to what you're saying, it was once I really honed in and got some structure that the actual real freedom began to come, that I found
Mhm.
that I had more time, that I found, to do the things I wanted to do. And so I love your whole system. I think this is really, really good. I'd be curious going back to in your story, you were talking about your going into the companies and helping those team members. There's something I hear, I love your perspective on this, and that's motivating team members, right? I hear leaders say so many times, like, well, like these people just aren't motivated. I can't get these folks motivated. What are you seeing? Are you seeing this help with some of that? Are you seeing,
Oh,
how are
yeah.
you seeing it helping with company culture?
All right. So motivation and culture, we're going to take them separately because
Yeah.
it's two big things. Number one, the concept of motivating unmotivated people, right? And here's what happens. Motivation is a choice. It's not a condition.
Mm.
And we put people in a box. I call them unmo. The book Motivate the Unmotivated The main character of it is Unmo. It's a long distant cousin of Elmo, who is like the most motivated thing in the world, right? For 70 some years, he's been learning every single day. But Unmo kind of looks like he had a rough night at the bar, ripped up, has some patches on him and stuff like that. And we all have an Unmo, and sometimes we're the Unmo. So motivation's a choice. It's not a condition. That's number one. Number two is there's an entire formula that we go into on how to motivate people who aren't motivated. Now, when I say that, you can't actually flick on a switch on motivation on somebody, but you can create environments that allows their motivation to come up. Yeah. Humans naturally are unmotivated, are to the physical being. We are built in a way to do the little amount of effort to get the results that we need. But there's something spiritually inside of us that has that growth mentality, almost as if our creator made us in his image, that we want to create and we want to grow. There's this weird desire that actually goes against all natural ability to survive, but it's also our biggest strength. So I think in that, when it comes to motivating individuals, if you're concerned about that, honestly, like grab our book, read it, shoot me. I'll send it to you if you want to email me. I do mean that, right? I don't want this to be buy my books, but that's the biggest focus. When it comes to company culture, the same way you increase the motivation is by developing the culture that needs to be there. With culture, it is built by the individual's character. Mm. Culture is not built because you said this is what our company is going to be like. Mm-hmm. Culture is built because of the individual's characters. And that's why we tell people aren't the problem, people have problems. And that's why you have people problems. So what most managers and leaders are doing is they're using the wrong word to help solve the problem. They're enabling their people when they need to be equipping their people. They're lifting their people up, which is impossible to do, not sustainably, not long term, rather than edifying their people, which means building them up. We are called to encourage and edify each other. Are we building our people up? And the way we do it is fix the mindset and offer tools they can use. That's why we come into companies and we can get the mindset right, because that's not the hard part. Rah, rah, here's a talk, get excited, go take on the world. We're going to do it. Great. What happens? Time. Life. One bad email. That's all it takes to ruin that intention. So what our system does when it comes to culture and motivation in individuals is it combines intention and structure to create what we call perpetual development. Perpetual development is when you are constantly developing, and in that development, it's causing you to develop more. And you almost are naturally just developing, which we as humans, although our physical state is lazy, our spiritual state is not. Yeah. It is to be open and to go and be fruitful and multiply, to be good stewards of what it is we have been offered. With that being said, intention is defined as the purpose behind any goal. Structure is a defined, repeatable process towards achievement. The intention has to engage the structure. The structure then has to re-engage your intention. Yeah. Now you have this circle that we call perpetual development. So we use that system in all areas of life, in every goal set we put out there, and in every challenge internally, personally, professionally, and externally that an individual comes in. Because if you have the strong foundation, you can handle what's going on in life. Yeah. It's the problem is when your foundation is weak and a small wind comes, you get blown over.
Yeah. Matt, in what you guys do, like, have you seen it? Does it work for pretty much all like company sizes, or is there like an ideal, like even mom and pop, or is it like this is really for kind of mid to large size companies, or yeah,
it's everything. And here's what I mean by that is people are people.
Yeah.
Right. And we're not taken over by robots yet. So like we still have people. Every company has people. The way we deliver it changes based on size of the company.
Yeah.
So for example, if we're working with one of our clients that has, 10 employees, we're going to be in there one-on-one, having conversations, quarterly workshops, walking people through each part of it, maybe even coaching the management team. But with 10 people, you are the manager most likely. Like you're the coach, you're the one coming in as a coach under our entrepreneurship coaching. As you get into the bigger companies, you become an executive. And through our executive coaching, again, same truths apply differently. Mm-hmm. But in that conversation, we might do it in the way where we're going to coach Cory as the executive, and then we're going to give Cory and his team access to the digital trainings to understand the content. So Cory doesn't have to go and master it and then teach it to his people or hold his people accountable to it. Cory goes and he is accountable himself to it. And through Cory's examples, he is telling people, hey, go watch this. They come to him and go, man, Cory, I'm really having trouble just balancing life and work and all this stuff. And Cory goes, did you watch the foundation course?
Hey guys, I hope you are enjoying this episode of the Cory Lee Show. Y'all, I am on a mission to build leaders and to transform culture. So if you're looking for a speaker who speaks directly to the heart, a mentor to come alongside you and your team, or if you're in a position where you're looking for a personal coach who embraces where you are and also believes in who you could become, then I would be honored to walk this path with you. Simply reach out to me on my email at Cory@CoryLeeLeadership.com. Look, let's make your vision a reality. Contact me and together we'll navigate the path from aspiration to achievement. Your transformation, it starts now.
Yeah, okay. Did you fill out your LP? Give me 20 minutes. And now Cory doesn't have to teach, but he can just walk people through it and allows Cory to now edify and build up his people versus holding or lifting up his people. It's the exact same concept. So whether it's 10 people or some of our, 75,000 people is one of the clients that we've worked with, right? And that is a at scale, all over the world, digital assets, one-on-one coaching where we coach the manager, coach the executive, and then move it through there. The other place it works is with athletes. Same concept, same truth applied differently. Because I truly feel as an athlete, you should think, and I'm talking professional athletes, you need to think like an entrepreneur and an executive. As an entrepreneur, you need to think like a professional athlete and an executive. And as an executive, you need to think like an entrepreneur and an athlete. So those three levels are people operating at a very high level.
Yeah.
Similar truths apply differently. And that's what allows you to get, I think, the custom solution to what you need.
Yeah. And that's good. I like the thought there of entrepreneur thinking like an executive, thinking like an athlete, and the high performance discipline of an athlete and the seriousness of that as well. It's that's good. Man, I got a question for you, maybe a little different, but as you continue to climb in leadership and as you continue to grow, I'm curious, how do you be intentional about growing yourself? Like getting yourself in new rooms that stretch you. Like it seems to be harder as you continue to grow. Like curious how you challenge yourself like that.
Yeah. So two things, 3 buckets, internal versus external, right? Just if you could help me remember both those before we dive in.
I got you.
Internal versus external is probably the easiest one to dive into. Is when you're new at this, there's a lot of external growth to go find. The more you find the external solutions, you realize that there's an internal problem and there's no internal solution. So the higher you go in this development phase of life, also known as sanctification, you realize there's a lot less external issues and things I got to focus on and a lot more internal things I need to get rid of. I need to chisel away the masterpiece, right? Michelangelo, one of my favorite lines is as he's doing his sculptures, they're like, how do you create the image? And he goes, I don't create the image. I get everything else out of the way. Yeah. The masterpiece is inside the marble. I just need to get the pieces off that don't need to be there. So that's what I would challenge people. If you're like, man, I'm kind of stale in my development. Well, let's talk about ego, arrogance, and pride. Let's go there. Like, let's talk about how we tend to compare ourselves, and we'll get to high performers and optimal performers. That's the other thing we'll jump into. But this is why I told you we have to keep track of these things because my head's all over. So I'll get to that in a second. Let's go back to the 3 buckets. All right. In one of the chapters of our books, we talk about how important it is to have 3 buckets balanced. The buckets, if you're listening to this, you're not going to see this. But if you're watching the video, you will. Imagine you have kind of like a stick across your shoulders and you have buckets of water, 2 on the right, 1 on the left. So you have 3 buckets of water, 2 on the right, 1 on the left, and you're walking. If they're balanced, the left side and the right side, it's okay. Might be heavy, but you could do it. Man, if they're not balanced, that's a hard walk. That's how most of us walk our life. 3 buckets. The buckets are there. There's water in at least some. It's going to be tough. If there's no water in any, you're dead. So you got some water in there. The bucket on the right, the first bucket, is the bucket of you pouring into you. What are you doing to pour into yourself? The bucket on the left is you pouring into others. So if it needs to be balanced, again, you're limited in what you're doing if you're pouring into you on the right and you're pouring into others on the left. Like your time is split. You like, let's say we do 50-50, that's all you can do. So instead, as a leader, we have a bucket where you pour into you on the right, a bucket where you pour into them on the left, but then you have another bucket on the right where you let others pour into you.
Mm.
That's usually, depending on the personality type I'm working with, one of those three buckets are missing. Meaning they're getting poured into by so many people, they're not doing anything for themselves to grow. They're pouring into all these people over here. So they're off balance in their buckets. Or they get a lot of value by serving others, so they're pouring into people all the time and they're doing nothing on their right side. Or they have pride and ego, they don't want to ask for help. So they have no one pouring into them and therefore no one pouring back out. I kind of joke about it. Like, if you have a coach who doesn't have a coach, you shouldn't have that coach. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you have when I meet people, if I really want to connect with them, I'll say, all right, Cory, what books do you read? And I get this sometimes where they're like, yeah, I don't really read. It's just kind of, I just naturally do it. And I say, hey, more power to you. I'd love to hang out, but I can't learn or duplicate what you did if it's just a natural skill.
Yeah.
So, like, all that being said, that's the buckets, right? Where it's like pouring in, pouring to you, pouring to others, and have others pour into you. The third thing we talked about or that came up was high performance versus optimal performance. This is the key to everything we teach. I am not impressed with a high performer. I meet high performers all the time, from high level executives to professional athletes to famous, not famous. Like, it doesn't impress me at all. And the reason why is because it's not as difficult as some of us think. But here's where it is difficult, is doing it in a sustainable way.
Yeah.
So here's what high performers are. High performers, high output, unsustainable pace compared to others. High output, unsustainable pace compared to others. That's like running a race against slow people, winning and thinking you're fast because you outran slow people. That's like thinking you're a good husband because you don't beat your wife. Like, that doesn't qualify you as good. That might qualify you as not that bad, but not good.
Yeah.
Optimal performance, same high output at a sustainable pace compared to one's own abilities. You see, the issue comes in where people are like, I don't know how I should, where else should I go to grow? How do I get myself in new circles? It's because we're comparing ourselves to others. Compared to some other people, I'm doing really well. Yeah. Compared to some people, I'm rich. Compared to other people, I'm poor.
Yeah.
So what happens is people are like, well, you got to elevate yourself and get yourself in rooms with people bigger than you, smarter than you, richer than you, whatever it might be. And I get that. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But that's you seeking solutions and things that aren't going to solve the problems you're dealing with. Because there's an element of pouring into yourself that you have to deal with.
Yeah.
And the best leaders I know are willing to take criticism and correction. And what they do is they aren't afraid of the word conviction, but they bridge the gap. And this is what we teach all of our clients. We know we have hit a sustainable pace when we can bridge the gap from conviction to correction without feeling condemnation. And that's the key to getting a leader to continue to grow, is feel conviction, get excited when you feel conviction, run as quick as you can to the correction, and don't allow yourself to fall trap condemnation.
Yeah. Can you say that phrase one more time? The conviction, condemnation. Yeah, say that phrase, because I thought that was really good. Yeah.
Yeah. So we talk about it in terms of bridging the gaps. Everything we do is in gaps. PPG, personnel performance gaps, personal performance gaps. It's all about the gaps in our life. We already talked about the Zeigarnik effect, right? It all falls through. What I found in life is that we are not supposed to fill the gaps, but we are to fulfill the gaps. And there is a bridge. So we expose the gap, bridge the gap, sustain the gap, right? So everything you hear me talk about will be in terms of bridging. So we need you to bridge the gap from conviction to correction without feeling condemnation, without falling trapped to condemnation, shame, guilt, fear, all of that stuff. It's unnecessary.
Yeah.
It is unnecessary. But what happens is we don't respond to the conviction to turn towards correction. Instead, we ignore the conviction. We know we shouldn't, but we do anyway. And because of that, we can't bridge the gap because the bridge is not there. We have to go to the bridge and we fall into the gap.
Yeah.
And that's when you start. Now you got to dig yourself out of the gap to get to the other side. of where we're trying to go. It's
Yeah.
about how quick can I experience conviction to go, oh, what's that tingly thing?
Mm.
Yep, time out, turn around, 180, turn away from that, turn towards what's good. And that, how quick can you feel that? And I found as a leader, it's never fast enough. You can always do it faster. You can always be more aware of that feeling. But that's where I start. When I get the high up executive, I'm making a ton of money. Everything I have is going the way I need to. What more can I do? I go, well, let's look around and find out because it's all internal cleaning. You don't have to clean outside anymore. You've done that. You
Yeah.
got to start cleaning up inside. And only you know what that is because all of us are wicked.
Yeah. I love that language. I love the picture that it paints, the conviction to bridge that gap to correction without going into condemnation. I have found within myself, and even stepping, I think that's a huge step into maturity is whenever I can get that conviction or somebody can shine the light on a blind spot and sometimes it feels like a gut punch, right? In that moment, it feels like a gut punch sometimes. And I like you can, oh man, I can, oh, woe is me. Or it's like, no, there is something here that I really need to look into. I need to clean that up. And I
Yeah.
believe that is, I believe you said that as succinctly and beautifully as you could. But I think that's just such a sign of maturity when I can get that and say, okay, I still got areas to grow. I'm running to that. Yeah.
Yeah. And part of that is bridging the gap from shameful to grateful.
Yeah.
Like what happens is as men, we realize, oh, that was a bad decision. We welcome shame because we've been told work hard, get what you want.
Mm.
No. Yes, work hard, but don't work hard just to work hard. Like
Yeah.
we've fallen trapped to the there's a result we're trying to get. And if you're not getting the result, if you're reading the Bible and you don't know who Jesus is, it's a waste of your time. Like the point is not to say you did the action. The point is to grow the relationship.
Yeah.
Same with business in all areas. And what happens is when things come through and people come through and run into issues one way or the other, we go right to shame. But what if you just flip that to gratitude? And the reason I say gratitude is it's the only emotion only you can choose to feel.
Mm.
Like nothing can make you grateful. Your choice is gratitude. And gratitude is the external showing of the internal understanding of appreciation. So like you have these two things, and there's always multiple ways to do this. So if you're sitting here going, man, how do I bridge that gap from conviction to correction? It's by also bridging the gap between shameful and grateful. When you feel shameful, turn it to grateful because there is no shame, which is condemnation. And I think that's the part that we have to remind ourselves of as we navigate this.
Yeah, dude, that's so good. I love that. I want to ask you a question too, and I guess it goes. Keep going back to your wife, kind of asking you the question,
She's
and
a good topic, so we can talk about her all day.
well, my wife is too. I'll tell you what, she's amazing, and so your system and your process that she called out. I would love to hear like there's got to be a story of you discovering that yourself of like, man, I've
Yeah.
really got to do that. Can you go into that? Like what was that moment that caused you to click is like, man, I really need to be intentional or yeah, that moment that happened for
Yeah.
you there.
Yeah, I call it my heartbeat, and
Mm,
it goes in line with Life Pulse. Like, why is it called Life Pulse? The reason it's
that's-
called Life Pulse is because our goal is to bring intentionality back to life.
yeah.
Like, just make that like, man, if we could just be intentional, life would be so much better. Or if our social posts, if we were intentional about what we're posting and saying and how we're commenting, interactions with my spouse, with my kids, with you and me, like, man, if we could just be intentional about what we say and what we do,
Mm,
I think through intention comes integrity. Like it's a similar flow. So in this heartbeat, which was one of the down moments of an EKG, which also life is not supposed to be flat. I tell people, what's flat stand for? Oh, it represents death. I say, no, it doesn't. It represents the absence of life.
mm,
We call that death, but a flat line is the absence of life. So you don't want to live a flat line.
mm,
You're going to have the ups and downs. There's going to be trials and tribulations. It's part of the struggles that allows us to endure. So I think with that, I was in a downtime. I'm going to give you the fastest version. A 30-day period, I found out that employees were embezzling about $250,000 from me. I found out that physically I wasn't going to make it past the age of 40 because my level of stress, I was always in fight mode. There was no calmness. It was just go, go, go. I found out that uh, internally, like I said, I was a mess. Spiritually, I didn't have a relationship with any God, let alone the one true God. And then uh, relationally, I was engaged and we were about to go on a trip to Greece. And in that same period, I came back and said, man, I have trouble having emotional relationships. And she's like, you're right. Here's your ring back. And I got to go to Greece by myself. So in a
Wow.
30-day period, my entire life got flipped upside down. So as I'm sitting there going like, and this was like right as I came to know who Jesus was, I'm like,
Wow.
all right, so what do I do? What do I do? And what kind of came over to me in prayer was make it to Sunday. Like you make it to Sunday, I got you.
I felt the Lord
Like,
on that. That was so good. I don't know what that was,
yeah.
but yeah, that's good.
And well, what happened with it was then I started going, well, what do I do between Sundays? Like the 6 days in between are really, that's a long time. A lot of stupid things can happen. Like I don't, that's hard. Like
Yeah.
what I started realizing was, wait a minute, when you focus on your life a week at a time, it gives you this ability to have a deadline that is coming, but flexibility to get there.
Mm.
Meaning a day's too short, a month's too long. 7-day planning allows you to deal with the craziness that is life and move things around. So that's where the week came from. At least from mine. And when we wrote the book, Build Your Intentional Week, the whole story's in this, right? And I was trying to find the cool reason why the week exists, why 7 days exist. There is no like great cool reason. Creationists will always say, well, God rested on the seventh. Okay, maybe. People who don't understand who God is, they say, well, those are the moons and the planets they had at the time, so they said 7. The reality of it is the week came because the Sabbath was on Saturday and the marketplace shut down, and they wanted a way to reset it.
Mm.
So the week has I say a societal meaning, but not a survival meaning. So I want you to think about that. Survival meaning means a day, the moon is up, the sun is up. We work better when the sun's up. It's safer for us.
Mm.
A week, there's no survival, but societal benefits, right? So skip the week. A month, the moon moves, so you can actually use as a guide. And then every quarter, seasons. Every year, reset. Right? So those patterns, there's a reason for all the times that we use in that LP structure of success, but a week, it's not survival, it's societal. So when we're having problems as communal people, the week is what we have to focus on. Does that make sense?
Oh man, yeah.
So it's a different way of thinking of it, but it brings a lot of comfort. So a day's too short, a month's too long, a week is perfect. It has a perfect amount of flexibility and structure at the same time. But then it was like, well, what do I talk about? And these 9 questions kind of came like, you can't focus on more than one thing, right? You can't chase 2 rabbits. It's not possible, right? If I say, don't think of the Statue of Liberty, you're going to think of the Statue of Liberty in order to not to. Our brains work in a certain way. So if I can't focus on 2 things, what do I do? And the reality of it is we call ourselves multitaskers, but study after study after study has shown you can't do that.
Yeah.
I tell people, you're not a multitasker. At best, you're a partial tasker. You can do 2 things at 50%, but you can't do 2 things at 100. So be okay at being honest. Yeah, I'll do that for you, but I'm going to do it partially, Cory, because as I'm doing that, I'm also going to be doing this.
Mm.
So focus. That's the first question. What's your one word focus? But then it was like, I need to bring some validity behind. Is this word even worth talking about? Is this a good word to focus on? And then we'd go to, okay, find a quote or find a verse, whatever you want it to be, but something that brings truth to that word outside of yourself. Does that make sense? So it brings validity to that word that it's worth paying attention to. Then I was again going, all right, what do I do now? And obviously, as you're kind of in a mode where you've lost everything, right? You got a multi-million-dollar company, nothing to show for it, but yet everyone thinks you still have things going on, and you realize your entire life is a wreck in 30 days. You're sitting there going like, what do I do now? Like, what am I grateful for? And I realized the more I focused on gratitude reveals growth.
Mm.
So like when I'm in a bad situation and I focus on what I'm grateful for, it's almost like I could see the exit. Versus when I'm in a bad situation and I focus on the bad situation, I'm stuck in the bad situation.
Yeah.
So in a bad situation at the time, I had a truck that a driver of ours at one of our companies totaled the truck. At the same time, another company of ours, someone broke into our warehouse and stole all of our inventory. So I'm sitting in a bad spot. And what I realized was, man, what am I grateful for? So it's not where's the good, where's the bad, it's where's God.
Mm.
So it's not the good or bad. So we don't need to focus on that. So gratitude's powerful. How do I stay focused on gratitude? Then it came to, we call it our weekly wisdom. Once a month we send out, or once a week we send out, just Friday, just remind yourself, set your week coming up. Here's a weekly wisdom for you to use for yourself, for your team, whatever you want it to be. Then we jump into the pulse check, right? And the pulse check was because I realized that I realized I was the last to know my entire life was falling apart.
Hmm.
Like when I told people the marriage wasn't going through, they were like, I could have saw that coming. I'm like, well, why didn't you tell me?
Yeah.
And you know what everybody said? We did. You
Wow.
just didn't listen. The arrogance that we have. So the pulse check, how did I do last week? Internally, physically, relationally, professionally. Because if I messed up last week, I can fix it this week. But if I messed up for the last 10 years, it's really hard to fix it this week.
Hmm.
And that's one of the saddest things when I meet people who just come to Jesus. I tell people, hey, heads up. I know you're a new transformation. I know you're new, but they only know the old.
Hmm.
So as much as you know you've changed, it's going to take time for others to accept that. Sorry. Just the nature of, the consequences of your decisions of your past. They don't go away when we find him. The condemnation does, but the consequences don't.
Yeah.
That's the reality of it. So the other thing with trajectory, and that's where that pulse check is if you're taking off, and I tell people this all the time, from the West Coast to the East Coast, and the plane is off by just an inch, by the time you hit the East Coast, you're over 100 miles away from your destination. That's a 6-hour flight, give or take. Just easier to do math this way. Times that by 4. That's going to be every day you're off by an inch at start. You're 400 miles away from where you're supposed to be.
Wow.
Times that by a month. Times that by a year. Within a year, you're over 150,000 miles away from where you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
The Earth is only 24,000 miles around. When you want to talk about how far off you are, where if you were just to fix that inch at the beginning, life would be better. Now, regardless of how far you are, you can always change your trajectory. But that's where that pulse check is. How did I do last week? And then from that, what do I have to do this week? So if I'm traveling and I'm doing multiple speaking engagements or consulting or workshops, that next week, I got to be a dad.
Hmm.
I got to take my wife on a date. Because last week I was a 3. So I got to focus on that here, making small corrections along the way. That's the key of that. Then we get to the brain dump. That was just a to-do list. I realized if we're going to put a plan together, I got to know what I said I was going to do. We call it a brain dump because we want you to clear your mind in order to use your brain. If you're keeping everything up here, you can't use the tool that you need to survive. Once you dump it out on paper, it's like doing a puzzle. You can actually strategically figure out what you do next, and that's where we go to the Eisenhower Matrix, which I've always been a big fan of Stephen Covey. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, but I never did it in the way we do it, which is on a daily basis.
Hmm.
Urgency, meaning what has to happen today.
Yeah.
Not subjectively, objectively. And then what could happen another day? Turns out the average person only has like 2 to 5 things they have to do today.
Yeah.
The average person really can only do about 7. So we limit that. And then the daily schedule, which the other one is just our subconscious mind sees in pictures. So I want to know what my week looks like in my head. I don't need to know what I'm doing, but I need to know a Thursday at 3. I think there's a number there that means I can't be there.
Yeah.
So that's how that whole worked. Also, when it comes to a planner, there's 5 parts of it that I know is needed. It needs to be able to travel with you. It needs to hold your commitments, your goals, has to have your scheduled task, and it also has to have your unscheduled tasks. All that being said, we built a 13-week planner that does all of that, has notes, has sections, you can do everything you need, and it can handle anyone's life regardless of how crazy you are. So that's kind of where it all came from. It brought me out of the depths, and it brought me to a level of sustainability. But then what happened is God tested it against my family. My daughter, Natalie, we didn't talk about her, has a very rare muscular condition, right? So she's the 17th to ever have it, youngest by far, most aggressive. And because of that, her muscles don't work. She's been in a wheelchair her whole life. When she gets a cold, we end up in the ICU. And what I realized was when it comes to planning, there's this 80-20 principle of planning we teach. 80% of your life you can plan, 20% you can't. However, if you don't take care of the 80, the 20 feels like 100.
That's good.
So I can't tell when my daughter's going to go to the ICU, but I can focus on the 80.
Yeah.
And if you don't take care of the 80, the 20 will feel like 100. That's where overwhelm comes in. It's not because your whole life's falling apart. It's small parts falling apart. You just don't have the rest of it in order. So when your foundation's weak, everything crumbles. There's been times where and it's interesting, when we go to the ICU, I'm going to make sure I say this right because I don't want to be misunderstood. The severity of the danger to my daughter is not correlated with the difficulty of the trip. The difficulty of the trip is more correlated to my wife and I not having our 80% taken care of.
Mm.
We've had times where Natalie has died and come back to life 20 minutes later.
Wow.
We've had times where Natalie has checked into the ER and left the same day. The severity of her condition is not what makes the trip hard, because God has her either way. The lack of preparation on that 80% we can control is what makes that trip hard.
Wow.
And that's in every area of life. 80-20, focus on the 80. The 20 will feel like 100 if you don't.
Yeah. Man, that is so good. I'm kind of laughing here because it's so interesting. When I first started doing some of the stuff that I do, it seems to have come around the same way, where the Lord was teaching me is like, do week to week, kind of like what you're doing 7 days, or you're talking about 7 days. And then this transition came, is like, all right, now I want you to look month to month. And then this transition came to, hey, you need to be thinking bigger, think year to year. And so, I just love how you laid that out so good. And so, man, you've added such value today. Do you sell the planners just themselves, or okay?
Yep. Yeah, you can go right onto our website, lifepulseinc.com, and grab that. What we'll do is we'll put together, like I said, a custom page that's just for your crew. And that way they can just go to lifepulseinc.com, and we'll put, if you had to put 2 letters behind it, what would you put it at? And I can have the team make it for you.
Just 2 letters?
Yeah.
LB for Legacy Builder.
Cool. Yeah. So we'll just do /LB, lifepulseinc.com /LB. And by the time this thing's produced, unless you're doing it in the next 5 minutes, and put up, we'll have that link up and ready to go with access to the LP and any other ways you guys want to come through and connect. But that's the best way to reach out. You can follow us on social. We do a big in-person event that's for high-level executives, entrepreneurs, and athletes. That's coming up in January here in St. Louis. That if you guys think you're interested and you think you would qualify for that level of in-depth training, we'd love to have you. And any way we can help, Cory, again, with anyone you're working with, if we can assist in any way. And we're just grateful for many other people like you doing great work.
Yeah, man, I truly appreciate you and what you're doing. I've got one major question I have to ask you, though.
Okay.
So you're in St. Louis.
I am.
Are you a Cardinals fan?
So I'm from Philly.
Okay. All right.
All right. So here's what I'll tell you. My wife and I had a very serious conversation on one of our monthly life dates on which teams are we going to choose.
Okay.
So I got the Eagles.
Okay.
They don't have a football team here anymore. Very touchy subject. I got the Sixers. You got Flyers versus Blues. Then you got Phillies versus Cardinals.
Yeah.
So I have comfortably said I will root for the Cardinals unless they play the Phillies.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So like, I'll say, yeah, I would be confident. Here's how I know. I'd be okay wearing a St. Louis Cardinals hat or jersey.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So
it
sorry.
Makes sense. Well, I can understand your situation. It does not make any sense whatsoever to me. I'm a Cubs fan, by the way. Most of the listeners understand I'm a big Cubs fan. So anyway,
everyone's a glutton for punishment. Look, I'm from Philly, right? It's easy for me to jump ship. You understand, right?
There you
so
go.
It's I give you. You know what? Remember we were talking about hard work that doesn't always pay off. Just saying, right?
There you go.
No, I'm a big fan of Chicago.
Yeah.
And I am a fan of the Cubs, but I am absolutely, I'll take the Cardinals all day.
There you go. I understand.
So, we could still be friends.
We can. Well, Matt, truly appreciate you. Thank you for your time. I love your wisdom, man. You carry such a wisdom, and man, you have this gift of being able to articulate. Here's what great communicators are able to do. They're able to take something that could be complex and to simplify it. And I think you do such a great job of taking something that could be complex and simplifying it to just pretty much anybody can implement. I think that's great. I love that.
Well, thank you. I always say one of my biggest strengths outside of faith is just my ignorance. I never have been a smart person. And because of that, I've had to create these systems to understand what smart people do.
Yeah.
I just didn't realize that it was part of what God was going to have me share with people.
That's amazing.
So it's been awesome.
Well, thank you for coming on. And hey, guys, thank you for taking a listen. Highly encourage you to go and check out Matt, check out some of the things he's doing. I'm going to check out the planner. Love that. And we'll have that link in the show notes below. You guys can just click on that. He's on all the social media platforms. You can check him out too. And so thank you, Matt, for coming on. Thank you guys for taking a listen. Make sure you like and subscribe so you can stay up to date with any of the latest episodes of the Cory Lee Show. Hope you guys have a great day and God bless.
3, 2, 1.
Okay. Thanks for joining me today. I hope I have added value to you. And if you have found value in this episode, let me know. Drop a comment and make sure you share with a friend or family member. See you next episode.